I'll come back. One thing that's interesting about like short-term stuff like we did is your goal actually is not to change up too much, right? Like in short-term stuff, it's like the reason it works is because it's like it's one of those where it's like, screw your autonomy. We're gonna do this. You don't get to choose. We're gonna do this, this, and that. And it is useful because it's difficult and allows us to push. When it comes to things like what you're doing now, I like bringing back in the idea of shifting, right? Like, okay, that first section of strength stuff, you don't have to use the exact rest period. If you want to lift a little heavier, just go longer rest periods and treat it more like straight sets. So just know you'll go into the programs you're on. If you just follow exactly what it says, it typically does work for what people are trying to do. But if your goal is also wanting to show up, enjoying the workouts, things like that, that's where talking with us as coaches of like, what can you change in the moment to make it more your style? Well, maybe having more conversations of like logging mental emotions to the different things that you're trying to do and in the moment, right? Because I think that can be super insightful to us, but even more so insightful to you all, right? It's like, instead of just like, I did the thing, well, what feelings is it creating? Like if you chose to take all your treats out, like what feelings are you noticing through the day? And so that's the reason I asked that, is like, it's because it's progress in another way if you're starting to notice those feelings change throughout the day. It's like how our relationship with food or movement is changing. So that's why I asked that.
Getting back to it.
Awesome. So there was a win in there even while working on something. It's like technically kind of like an unplanned week. And I think this is actually a huge win that all of you all should recognize when stuff like this happens, is on a week that isn't set up for your success and you still follow the behaviors you've been working on. That is just huge. That would be like the equivalent of, and I'm not saying when you all go on vacation, you need to sit there and like perfectly plan out, but it's like vacation, right? You go on vacation, you don't have some perfect plan for how you're gonna eat. But if you still kind of stick to a lot of the principles you talk about, like, maybe just keep to my meals and not snack throughout the day. Oh, let me pay attention to how full I am at these dinners that I'm eating out. You can actually still go on vacations and actually see progress towards goals if that's what you want, right? So I think that's huge.
Yeah. But since that Monday, I've gotten back on track.
Yeah, and it's something I once again like point out a win. You're like focusing on treats and things like that, but I'll be real. You would be an absolute outlier if you didn't have days like that, right? I mean, like I think we can all speak to it here, where it's so normal to just have a day where you just eat all the things. And honestly, it shows a lot of your just kind of progress forward, which is, well, but since then I've been right back on track. So to me, it's like, that wasn't a bad day Monday. You just had a day of eating different things, and then you're right back to doing your normal thing. It's just when those things become our everyday that we start running into struggles on moving forward. So I think that's great.
This week, and so my healthy options are starting to dwindle. And for me, I don't enjoy cooking, and so I think I'm going to be my own biggest obstacle when it comes to my nutrition, just being able to keep on track and not falling back into my old habits.
Yeah, and much like we all are, right? And that last piece you just said, falling back into our old habits. I think that with any change, and I do truly believe this, that true change, you have to just sit with discomfort and difference for a while, right? Like, I know everyone can talk about all the 21 days to form a habit, 77 days to form a habit. Like I'm not a big fan of all of that. It's more so of just, you just sit with something until it's thoughtless and comfortable, right? Back to old ways. Because just remember, we talked about stuff for 6 weeks. Some of your all's old ways is like 20 years, right? That doesn't change overnight. And for some of us, our old ways began as like 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. Like I always just want to encourage you all. I know that sounds defeating, but we are always, when it comes to our health, our wellness, our nutrition, we're going against our childhood and what we were most exposed to throughout our, formative years, right? So just keep that in mind, and then think about like early stages after school, getting out in the work world. So all these things, something I heard in there that might be important for us to consider here is, it's okay to not put a prime focus on all three. They're all on our radar, but if all of your mental bandwidth at the moment is just one of them, then do that, because that's going to move you forward more than trying for all three and doing none of them. Do you know what I mean? I am going to both take hold of and hold myself accountable to this, and I'm also going to cry about it. Like it's okay to experience the emotion and then still take the necessary action to move forward with it. And I think that's important for all of us. Like, that's why we talk so much about awareness with the things we're trying to change. Like, it's okay to sit there and say, you know what, this absolutely sucks, but I'm still going to then do this, right?